here on the second floor at the Westin. We'll spend about 25 minutes or so with the Panthers. Coach will lead us off with questions from the floor, then we'll rotate into our three student athletes. So our first question to Coach comes from who on the floor? So we'll move to our first row here on to your left, Coach, right here on the edge.
Looking.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. How you doing, Coach?
Doing good, Dan. How you doing?
Doing well. Looking at the last 6 years as you head into year number 7, how would you assess, looking past, all this time that you've had at Pittsburgh, where are things from where you wanted them to be to where they currently are, kind of overlooking your era here?
I guess the first thing I'm assessing is I'm getting awful old. Going on year 7 here at Pitt. I really like the football team we have. It takes time to build. And, you'll meet these 3 classy young men over here in a second. But when you look at the quality of player we have, there's times in my first couple of years I'm looking out there like, wow, okay? And that's no disrespect to what we had. But, I think every year we get a little bit better. I think the quality of personnel that we have, I think our depth, I think it all starts with roster management. We've been able to retain our players. We don't have a bunch of guys in the portal. Our guys are sticking with us. And I'll leave, for example, Kenny Pickett probably could have gone anywhere in the country he wanted to go, but he says, I'm coming back for my 5th year at Pitt. And that tells you about a culture we have there. But we've got quality football players, and you know how a game goes. There's the ups and downs of every ball game, and sometimes it takes a little luck. But I'm excited about where we are as a football program, as a football team. And again, our depth and our roster management is as good as it's been. And we've got, I sit there and look, there's years like, how are we going to get through the season with these 4 linebackers that can play? Now I'm looking at like, man, if he goes down or if he goes down and he goes down, we're still okay. And I think that's crucial, in the ACC.
Coach, from the podium, continuing on that thought, 29 returning on defense, 31 on offense. You only lost 9 lettermen, and that's no deference to them. It seems as though the Panthers are pretty well fortified this year.
We do. We had 13 super seniors, which fortifies you pretty good. And when you're from the Steel City, that certainly helps. I think our depth is good everywhere. It's going to really be trying to make sure everybody's getting enough reps and try to keep everybody happy through the season. Our locker room is full. We've got great players. I think we got team concept going on, and I like the leadership that our players have shown from top to bottom, and our coaches have done an unbelievable job.
Let's bring the microphone back to Dan here in the first row to the edge to your left.
Coach, name, image, and likeness, something that every coach has to really think about and break down to the best of your ability at this point. There's a lot of questions. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of answers at the moment. How do you assess it?
Number one, it's a great opportunity for our kids. I think as coaches, you look at your children back at home, your children on campus, and I look at our players, the opportunities they have. Now, I want them to be selective. I want them to do the right opportunities. You want to make sure they're organized in what they do, but the opportunities that our kids are getting, and then it gives some young guys an opportunity to look up at a Kenny Pickett or a Desmond Alexander and say, well, I want to be like him. Like, look what he got. How do I get where Kenny is, okay? Everybody should want to be in Kenny's shoes, and it's not just a given. Kenny's earned anything he's got. People around the country have earned what they're given right now, and like I said, Kenny certainly, when he decided to come back, he didn't come back thinking that this name, image, and likeness was going to be something, but he's able to take part in it, and it's really going to build him for the future, and it's going to build our kids for the future. So I think it's a great opportunity for our young men to build their image, and we've got a life skills program on campus, and Penny Samaya runs it, but since the first day I arrived on campus, he always talked about branding and branding and branding. So we've been branding for a long time at Pittsburgh. And he was always talking about, the first impression, what do people think of you when they step up on this podium today? So we've been talking about branding for a long time. Now it's an opportunity for our kids to earn some money, okay, earn a meal. I don't care what it is, but to be able to not have to go to a restaurant and say, well, you can't give me that appetizer. So it's a great opportunity, but there's got to be some restrictions, some lids put on this thing. And I think we'll eventually get to that. It's disappointing that there already isn't some legislation, and I think the commissioner talked about it earlier this morning. So, I won't beat a dead horse with that, but there's got to be some constraints on this thing, and I think it could get out of control. But all you want to do is, make everything equal, and I think the equality there is going to be important.
We're going to take the microphone quickly to the very back of the room. Gentleman who has his hand raised. Coach, if you follow your eye all the way up the aisle to the
I
right.
don't know why he's in the back row, but it's okay.
Got you. Feels like the back anyway.
Coach, John Eads with Orange Fizz. Obviously lost a lot of talent off that defensive line from last year to the NFL. How's the unit progressing this offseason?
Yeah, great question, John. You know, with Patrick Jones headed to the Vikings and Rashad Weaver to the Titans, we lost a lot of fighter power there. We'll maybe blitz a little bit more. Maybe we got to bring some more linebackers. But we got Deslin Alexander over here. You'll get a chance to talk to in a few minutes and ask him some questions. We got Haba Baldonado, a young man from Rome, Italy. John Morgan. Again, we've talked earlier. As Dan asked those questions about our depth. I'm happy with the way we've recruited. I'm happy with the depth, and I'm happy with the development, because it all comes down to development. I mean, Patrick Jones was a two-star player out of Virginia that, I don't want to say nobody wanted, but we were able to get. And, he only had 2 stars, and I don't know how many rivals guys we have in here, or 2, 4, 7, and all that. But, our job as coaches are to develop, okay? That's why I like coaching. And, when you develop players, good things are going to happen. And that's our job, to develop more guys that can get to the passer, in a 4-down situation. But we've got, plenty of players, and, and we've got, whether we have to design something to get pressure, and we've been fortunate enough to lead the country in sacks the last 2 years, and we'd like to do it 3 years in a row.
Coach, from the podium, historically speaking, 2 of the top 5 of Pitt's largest ACC victory margins came last year. That's pretty impressive, given as goofy as all of 2020 was.
Yeah, that was last year. I don't remember what happened last year, but I think offensively, when you talk about college football nowadays, you got to score points. And, I think our offense got into a groove as the season moved on. I think when Kenny Pickett was healthy near the end, and not 100% healthy, I'll add that. But then you get your running game going. I think great things can happen. So I think a couple of those might have been Florida State, Virginia Tech. I'm not sure which games you're talking about, but it was so long ago, and it was COVID ago. But I think those were 2 games. But in both of those instances, you saw a run game, and we can't drop back with any quarterback. I mean, you can give us Dan Marino back, but if Dan's got to drop back every snap and throw the ball, you're going to have issues. And I think when the run game gets going, you're going to see a lot more explosive plays, not a 7 or 8 yard pass completion. You're going to see a 78-yard pass completion. That's, those are the ones we like to have. Kenny'd like to just have one throw and have a nice fresh arm.
Coach, to your right about the 7th row, the young lady raising her hand.
Coach, Candace Cooper here from Locked On ACC. The Coastal is going to be extremely competitive this year. What are some of the key things that will set your team apart and hopefully get at top of the division?
Well, it's going to come down to discipline, I think, Candace. When you look at it, you can have good players, and you got to go out and make plays. And to win football games, I think it's going to come down to, our guys preparing to win, because I think we have the talent to win. It's preparing to win. And then it's going to come down to the details on the field, and the discipline and the details. We've got to be, our goal is to be the less penalized team in the country. We got to eliminate those errors. We got to, win the turnover ratio. All those, football coach speak words. Those are going to be the keys. And again, I'm gonna, I guess, go to church on Sunday morning at 7:30 and say my prayers and hope for a little luck, because everybody needs a little luck.
Coach, from the podium, we don't often hear questions about special teams during this type of forum. So your thoughts about the Panthers and those special team unit members going into 2021?
Yes, we'll start off with the strength is our punting game. And again, I think your punt is the most important play in football. Cal Adamitis, our long snapper, turned down an opportunity to go to the Senior Bowl last year. Had an opportunity to be a drafted guy, has graduated from Pitt already. It was not like he was going to stay to graduate. So had graduated, stayed for another year, just loves Pitt, loves college football, and that opportunity is going to be down the road. So he's the guy that's going to be snapping it to our Ray Guy finalist, Kirk Christodoulou. And, one of our punters from Australia. He's an incredible kid. He has made strides and gotten better every year. We've got some new weapons and some new skills that we're teaching him as far as some of the schematics go with our punt team. And we made some major strides in our punt game last year, and we continue to get better at that as the spring went on and through the summer. So that's our punt game. And again, our protection's been solid. But, we've got to make sure we don't give up any blocks there. And then when you look at our field goal team, the big thing is we're not going to kick field goals in the red zone anymore. So really don't need a field goal kicker this year. We just need a guy who can put it up through the upright on an extra point, because when we get in the red zone, we're going to score a lot more points this year. And I think we relied too heavily on Alex Kessman. It's like guaranteed 3 when you got into field goal range. And so Alex Kessman is not with us. We've got 2 really fine kickers that will be battling out this fall. And and I think they're 2 guys that can play for anybody. So, we're going to put a lot of pressure on them in fall camp like we did in the spring. And, I'd feel comfortable with either one of them lining up. We're going to find out, who's that guy that's going to make the money kicks.
Thank you. Anything else for Coach? If not, Coach, why don't you switch places with Jordan, and we'll bring Jordan up.
I think we got one more. I see my man John over here.
Perfect. Thank you. My fault.
John in the back there in the middle, back row guy.
Yeah, John McGonigal, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Pat, going into training camp now after having a spring with Brennan Marion as wide receivers coach, what impact have you seen him make on guys like Jordan and Jalen Barden and Taysir Mack in that group?
Yeah, I think that's, John, a great question. It's a great question for our players as well, and I think Jordan maybe be able to answer that question as good as I can, and I think I can answer it with a lot of confidence. I'll first off say, Chris Beatty, our receiver coach, left for the Chargers in the NFL, and it was a hell of a coach, great person, a joy to be around every day in our office, and I miss him. But my job as head coach is to move on, and we can hang our heads and say we just lost a guy to the NFL. Why'd the NFL have to come steal a receiver coach? But my job is to go get a guy that's just as good or better, and that was our goal. I know there were some sad faces, and Jordan had one of those sad faces because not only did Coach Beatty coach him, he recruited him as well, and they had a great relationship. But my job is to go get another guy, and I've been impressed. There's always that other coach that can come in and give you even more, and really, Brendan Marion has come in, and those kids are playing with a lot of enthusiasm, playing with a lot of effort. They just, I like what I see. I think they're doing a better job blocking right now, and again, they're a year older, so, a lot of that comes with age, and it's nothing that Coach Beatty was not coaching, but I just see a lot more effort out there. And again, I think they got a lot of confidence, and it's just a different atmosphere in that room. And every coach, whether my old linebacker days, got a little bit different attitude in that room, a little bit different demeanor, and it's been a great change. And we're excited about it. I think our receivers are excited about it. And now we got to get into game mode. So spring ball was great. Coaching the fundamentals is great. Now we're going to get into game mode and make sure our guys are prepared. That's going to be the next key is the preparation game by game. Okay, when the coverages change, what are they doing, and how we make adjustments there. And I'm sure Coach Marion will do a heck of a job there as well.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
Jordan, you're up. We'll spend a couple of minutes with our wide receiver, and I will scan the room looking for questions. So, Jordan, we're going to start to your left here in the first row, and then we'll see what the rest of the room gives us.
Jordan, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Last season, you led the nation's freshmen in receptions per game and in total receptions. Just what you can say about building off of that and having your quarterback back.
Having my quarterback back means a lot. My freshman season being as good as it was, it just gives me a lot of momentum to just keep going and keep succeeding. I got a lot to build off of.
Jordan, from the podium here, last year you had one game in which you caught 11 passes for 127 yards. In baseball, pitchers talk about being in a zone. Is there a zone for receivers, and last year were you in that zone?
I'll say there definitely is a zone, and I feel like I was in it. Kenny kept putting the ball out there, and I was just making plays for him, just making it easy for him.
How does it feel for you?
It felt great, actually, just coming in after the game and watching, and seeing my family as happy as they was, and just getting out. It was nice.
Got a question for you that's going to be on the left side, all the way at the edge, almost towards the doors. About 4th row ups. Sir, raise your hand.
I'll start. Cameron Deborah, Demon Deacon Digest. So just taking a look at the next season, what's going to be the biggest key for both the wide receiver room and just the offense in general, just being more consistent and just taking that next step?
I believe that is the key, being more consistent and putting the ball in the end zone. Last season we coming into the red zone, we had a lot of times where we had to take 3, but I feel like this season we're going to get in the end zone and we're going to hit a lot of one-play touchdowns.
Jordan, from the podium again, you played DB in high school. What kind of advantage does it give you as a receiver now in college?
The advantage that gives is you kind of know the tendencies that DBs have. You know, watching film, you see what stance they're in, like their feet, and like if they like to press or not. Like it's a lot of things to it.
Other questions for Jordan from the floor? Jordan, hearing none, why don't we switch places with Deslin now? We'll give Deslin his 5 minutes of fame. Same routine, even though you've identified yourselves with our other 2 personalities, if you would reintroduce yourself with each new person that comes to the podium. And Deslin will start to your left right here in the first row.
Deslin, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. What did you take away from Rashad Weaver and just what he meant to you as you move forward here? What are some of those pieces that you really think had an effect on you from him?
You know, mostly just his approach to the game, his respect for the game, you know, to do the things that he was able to do. You know, he was just, you know, every day, you know, how he watched film and how he prepared was just tremendous, you know, and it showed on the field.
We're going to stay on the left side. We're going to go about the 3rd row. Deslin, to your left.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com, Deslin. 13 of the 14 schools return experienced quarterbacks. I don't ever remember that happening in the history of the Atlantic Coast Conference. How does that complicate preparation for defensive ends like yourself?
Well, you know, no matter who the quarterback is, you know, we still got to prepare the same way. You know, give everybody the respect they truly deserve. The ACC is a great conference, so, you know, you can never take a day off, so we'll be ready.
Deslin, from here at the podium, what's it like switching positions on the defensive line? To the casual fan, I'm sure they would say it's probably not too tough to switch positions.
It's not as difficult, you know, if you put the time in, you put the work in, you do all the little details that it takes. You know, it's just like, you know, doing your, you know, putting your shoes on or wearing your pants, you know. As long as you put, you know, the required amount of work to do it, you know, it's not that hard.
Other questions for Deslin from the floor? We're going to go all the way to the back, to the right. Gentleman raising his hand. We've had a chance to talk to him once before. Get the mic that way. Big room here. Thank you.
Deslin, John Eads with Orange Fizz. Same question I asked Coach Narduzzi. How do you think the D-line's coming along after losing all that talent to the NFL?
You know, D-line's getting stronger. You know, I keep hearing this question all day now, what we lost, but, you know, what those guys did, you know, they set the foundation for us. They showed us how to work. They showed us how to prepare. So, you know, I'm very excited for, you know, what we have and upcoming for next season. You know, we got a lot of talented guys in our room, guys who are going to make a lot of plays for us this year.
Deslin, first row, hard left towards the edge.
Tyler Everett, Sports Business Journal. Deslin, can you tell me about the deals you've pursued via NIL and your approach on that front?
Right now, you know, I'm really not, you know, giving it much attention just because I'm trying to focus on the task at hand, which is football. You know, just taking a few meetings. But, you know, if I don't get my job done on the football field, all these opportunities won't be. So, you know, just trying to focus on that, you know, keep the main task at hand.
Keep it on the first row right in front of you.
Deslin, being a part of Pittsburgh's defense, obviously the history of that holds a lot of weight. Just what you can say, like you said, not about what we lost, but what we have right now. Speak on this season and then kind of the overarching piece of it, which is why did you want to become a part of Pittsburgh's historic defense?
You know, just as you said, because of the historic defense, the guys that came before me, the guys who's paved the way, you know, for us to be able to speak like this. You know, even Coach Partridge preparing us all day. You know, all that comes in hand. You know, making the choice to want to come here and want to be part of this great historical defense.
Deslin, your last question here from the podium. I'm curious, you registered some really good numbers against Florida schools in your career. Is there an extra motivation for you when you play against Florida schools, given that you're from the Sunshine State?
You know, yes. just because a lot of guys, you know, I went against in high school are on these teams. A lot of friends of mine are on these teams, so it's always cool playing against, you know, people you grew up with, grew up around. So, you know, just bring a little bit extra competitive edge, but you know, you still prepare for everybody just the same.
Deslin, thank you. Let's switch spots with Kenny, and we'll allow Kenny for the last word here today. Probably more than just the last word, the last couple of words. So Kenny, as you get yourself acclimated, we're going to go to your left side at about the third row.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com, Kenny. I've heard Mark Richt talk repeatedly about you ruining his perfect season in 2017. That was a long time ago. You've had many years to develop as a quarterback. Describe the differences in the Kenny Pickett we will see this year versus the one that took the field in 2017.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of differences. You know, I was just a kid then, 18-year-old kid coming out of high school, having my first start against the number 2 team in the country, just, you know, with minimum experience going into it. So I think, you know, going into my 5th year now, having a lot of experience, you know, I'm excited to lead this team, you know, one more time.
Kenny, we'll go back to the front row to your left.
Kenny, Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Year 5, why? Why come back?
You know, I think a lot went into it, you know, the draft projections and then talking with my coaches, Coach Narduzzi, Coach Whipple, seeing the team that we have coming back. You know, I think there's an opportunity for this team to have a really special year. You know, so I'm right where I want to be. When I made the decision, I told myself I'd be all in on it, so I'm all in and ready to go.
Kenny, right side about the 6th row. She's got her hand in the air.
Candace Cooper here, Locked On ACC. Can you talk about your NIL deal and making sure your big guys got fed? Talk about that relationship and why it was so important for you to be associated with that.
Yeah, that was very important. That was something, you know, that started back in my high school, actually. It was a tradition at my high school. Carried it into college. Could only really do one a season, not getting paid as much, but now obviously have the opportunity to take all 6 linemen, have an extra guy going too with us, so we can do that, you know, once a week during the season, throughout the entire season. So that was obviously very important for me to get done first.
Kenny, from the podium here, you have 5 fourth-quarter comebacks as a quarterback, and that's the most comebacks by a Pitt QB in 50 years. What gives? What do you attribute that to?
I'd say practice. You know, we do 2-minute drill a bunch throughout camp, throughout spring, and just repetitions. And I have a really good feel for how Coach Whipple's going to call a 2-minute. And, you know, I understand the flow of the game and how it's supposed to go. And he handles the timeouts, and I'm just really focused about moving the chains and getting positive plays. So I would just say repetitions and practice and continuity with the guys.
Let's go back to your left, hard left on that first row.
Tyler Everett, Sports Business Journal. Just wondering if you could tell me about the process leading up to the logo released earlier this week and how you feel about that and plans for going forward as you continue to, you know, bolster your brand and move forward on that front.
Yeah, I mean, that was just something small that I wanted to do, you know, really just to have throughout the season and have some fun with it. Really just a small thing, but I'm focused on this season. And, you know, like I said, it feels like everybody in here, right? So I'm going into my 15th year, so have a lot of experience coming back. Excited for my last one.
Kenny, from the podium again, you have the seniority over your teammates here, and you built some pretty good rep. You're probably the only one I'll ask this question of over the next 2 days, and I'm going to put you on the spot. What's it like playing for your head coach?
You know, we have a really special relationship, and I think it just builds over time. You know, he has a lot of trust in me, and I have all the trust in the world in him, and he's obviously one of the main reasons I came back. You know, if it wasn't like that, I don't think I would be here right now. So excited to have one more run with him and give it everything we got this season.
We're going to go back to Dan one last time here.
Kenny, for you nationally, do you feel that you have the spotlight that you think that you deserve? And secondly, where has your game improved the most as you step into year 5?
I mean, I'm not too concerned about the spotlight nationally and you know, handling the media and everything. I mean, that just kind of handles itself. I'm focused on having a great year. What was the second question? Really just pocket awareness, I'd say, was something I worked on big. Pocket movement, you know, operating from the pocket. I feel like I can do a pretty good job on the run and getting out of trouble when I need to. But obviously just taking the next step inside the pocket and making throws and being more consistent.
Kenny, thank you. Pitt, good luck this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Duke is due up next in the room.